There are days in the forest when everything is so quiet that it begins to feel unnatural. We entered the forest very early. Not because we wanted to hunt, but because for several nights in a row, herds of wild boar had been coming down to the farms at the foot of the hill. Fields were torn apart. Fences were smashed. And the farmers had almost no choice but to call in teams like ours to control the population before they returned again. The forest was so silent we could almost hear nothing but our own footsteps on the dry leaves. My father stopped in the middle of the trail and looked around for a long moment. He said quietly, "Something's not right." And right then, everything erupted. From deep within the forest, a sudden wave of chaotic noise broke out. The ground trembled slightly, as if something heavy was charging through. Within seconds, we saw why. A large herd of wild boar burst across the forest. Everything happened fast. One member of our team reacted instantly. One animal dropped mid-run. But the herd behind didn't stop. From the left, another teammate engaged. Seconds later, another boar went down while trying to keep up with the herd. The rest scattered, disappearing into different paths of the forest. Herds like these are exactly why farms at the base of the forest haven't had a peaceful night in weeks. It only takes one visit. And the silence didn't last long. From a dry streambed below the slope, another boar suddenly emerged. It had just crossed shallow water. The moment it climbed up, it spotted us, and bolted. The first shot rang out. It staggered, but kept running. The second followed immediately. It began to lose balance, but instinct pushed it forward a few more steps. Only after the third did everything stop. If animals like this escape, they will almost certainly return to the fields below at night. And that is exactly what the farmers are trying to prevent. We moved further. Another dark shape suddenly dashed across the trail. A boar cut through the forest path, fast, almost a blur. But for a split second, it crossed an opening between two trees. A sharp crack echoed. Seconds later, the trail was quiet again. We continued sweeping the surrounding area to make sure nothing was left behind. After a while, when everyone thought things had settled, another one appeared. This time, it didn't run. It moved forward slowly. Step by step. Its head lowered, sniffing the ground, completely unaware of us ahead. The distance closed meter by meter. Then, in a brief opening, the situation ended cleanly. Almost at the same time, from the north, around the 10 o'clock direction, we received word of another lone boar near the forest edge. It had likely split from the herd earlier. We approached quietly. The animal sensed something and suddenly accelerated. But not for long. A sound cut through its escape. And just like that, silence returned, as if nothing had happened. The final moment came as we were preparing to leave. Boar suddenly stepped out from the brush, very close. Close enough that I could see its eyes in the shadow beneath the trees. Both sides froze for a split second. Then it moved forward, aggressively. In that instant, there was only one thought in my mind: act now. Two sharp sounds echoed in the tight space of the forest. The animal collapsed right at the edge of the brush, almost at my feet. None of us see moments like this as exciting. But when wild boar populations grow too quickly, controlling them is sometimes the only way to protect the land. By the time we left the forest in the late afternoon, everything was quiet again. The trails were still there. The wind still moved through the trees like any other day. But only those who were there knew. Just hours earlier, the entire forest had been in chaos. If you've ever stood in a forest as a herd of wild boar suddenly charges through, you know exactly what that feels like. What do you think is harder to control, a single wild boar, or an entire herd at once? Leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to follow our channel.